Do you sometimes find yourself at war with the enemy? You have dreams, you have aspirations, you have burdens on your heart, you have desires on your heart, you have things that you want to accomplish for the kingdom. And every step that you make, every move that you take, is as if you're running into opposition. Well, there's a reason for that, and we're going to talk about that coming up next. Again, we want to read out of the book of Nehemiah chapter number 4, and we're going to jump around a little bit. We're going to read verses 1, 2, and 3, then we're going to drop down and read verse 6, 7, and possibly even 8 or 9. But Nehemiah chapter number 4, verse number 1, and again, I do read out of the King James Version. It reads, "But it came to pass that when Sanballat heard that we builded the wall, he was wroth and took great indignation." You know, this guy Sanballat, he was upset. He was upset about when he heard that there were plans on building the wall. See, the enemy, I'm convinced, again, he didn't want to see us put our hands to the work. Follow me tonight. Again, it reads, "But it came to pass that when Sanballat heard that we builded the wall, he was wroth and took great indignation and mocked the Jews." Do you find yourself being mocked sometimes? Mocked in the home, mocked on the job, when you bring certain things to light. Mocked even in the church, if you please. Mocked by simply having a burden and wanting to do something about it. And he spake before his brethren, this is verse number 2, "and the army of Samaria, and said, What do these feeble Jews? Will they fortify themselves? Will they sacrifice? Will they make an end in a day? Will they revive the stones out of the heaps of the rubbish which are burned?" That's just like people, some people that even I know, some people that you know. Let me tell you, the enemy is utilizing these individuals. He's utilizing them to affect you, to affect me, and to prevent us, ultimately to prevent us from putting our hands to the situation and doing something about it. Verse number 3, "Now Tobiah the Ammonite was by him, and said, Even that which they build, if a fox go up, he shall even break down their stone wall." What they're doing down there, that ain't about nothing. That's not about anything. The effort that they're putting forth, the work that they're trying to do, don't even worry about that. That is directly from the pits of hell. Let me tell you, the enemy, I am convinced more than ever before, that the enemy does not want to see you and I put our hands to the work. We look at certain situations in our world. We look at certain situations in our community. Look at certain situations in our home, and it tears us up on the inside. Some of us have trouble sleeping at night because of these situations. And you have a burden, you have a desire. God has even spoken to you and told you to do something about it. He's given you clear instruction as to what to do about it. But the enemy, I am convinced again, that the enemy does not want to see it go forth. The enemy knows that you have on the inside, strengthened by God, of course, but you have on the inside what it takes to bring about a change. Bring about a change in homes, bring about a change in some individual lives, bring about a change in some institutions, bring about a change on your job, bring about a change in the church. I'm convinced of it. And the enemy is doing everything that he can to place Sanballat and Tobiah in your life. He's going to talk about it. He's going to have individuals mock you, to make fun of you, to make light or little of the work that you're doing. Don't stop. Keep going forward for God. Now again, I want to drop down to Nehemiah chapter number 6 and verse number, Nehemiah 4, verses 6 and 7. It says, "So built we the wall." We didn't allow all that talk. We didn't allow the negativity. We didn't allow the backbiting, the whispering, the hating, if you will. We did not allow that to affect the work that we had to do. It says, "So built we the wall, and all the wall was joined together unto the half thereof." Why? For the people had a mind to work. Don't allow others to affect your mind. Do not allow others to affect the mind that you have, the mind that God has given you, the burden that God has placed in you deep on the inside, that burden that keeps you up at night. You can't sleep about it. You find yourself in tears and you don't know why. You find yourself thinking of ways to bring. Do not allow the enemy to affect your mind. The people had a mind to work. The walls were built, joined together. Why? Again, because the people had a mind to work. And you would think that it would just stop right there, right? No, not at all. Not at all. Verse number 7. And it says, but it came to pass that when Sanballat and Tobiah and the Arabians, they went and got some backup. And the Ammonites and the Ashdites heard that the walls of Jerusalem were made up. So they heard about it. They heard about the progress being made. They heard the good reports. They heard about the individual that got saved on your job. They heard about the ministry that you started. They heard about the small group that you got off the ground. They heard about it. They heard about it. Then they were really upset. Really upset. And conspired together. All those ites, if you will. The Ammonites, the Ashdites, conspired together and got together to came up to fight against them. So on one hand, the enemy was upset that you talked about doing the work, but he really gets upset when you actually are about the work. You are physically doing the work. You're physically bringing about a change. Through the power of God, you're bringing about a change. And the enemy, you wonder why he's cutting up in your life. You wonder why you feel so much pressure. You wonder why you feel this or that coming against you. Because you are about the work. So I want to encourage you tonight. Do like Nehemiah did. Do like he did. Pray. Seek God's face. Keep the mind to work. And I want to finish by reading the last verse here. In verse number 9. So again, in verse number 8 and 7, they were upset. They physically came up to do something about it, to prevent the work. But I want to conclude with verse number 9. Nevertheless, we made a prayer unto our God and set a watch against them day and night because of them. And for time's sake, we're going to stop reading the scriptures there. But as we know, Nehemiah built the wall. Why? Because the people had a mind to work. The people did not allow the enemy to affect them. If the enemy wants to come and attack you, well, guess what? You have to amp up your prayer life. You have to amp up your watchfulness. You have to amp up your fasting before God. Why? Because again, the devil does not want to see you succeed at what God has given you. The burden that God has placed in your heart. The enemy does not care about that. The enemy only wants to prevent you from achieving it. But tonight, I want to encourage your hearts. Keep the mind to work. Don't get sidetracked by what the devil is doing. Don't get sidetracked by people and what people are saying, what people are doing. No. The Bible lets us know in one place that the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. So let me tell you, if the enemy attacks, counterattack. How do we counterattack? On our knees. We counterattack on our knees. We counterattack by praying and fasting before God. And God will see you and I through. May God bless you. Here's my prayer.